There is a common thread across the evolution of all things in our cosmos. That common thread is a struggle of order against the pull of disorder. As time goes by, some very special regions of the universe escape the overall trend towards disintegration and decay. These special portions of reality get more and more ordered, more and more complex. One of these areas in which the particles that make up the universe have acquired an extraordinary amount of complexity is known as you, also known as the Homo sapiens, or rather the most complex part of your body, your brain. Your brain is one of the most complex structures in the entire universe. And another hypercomplex structure is emerging right now, and it was invented precisely by, yes, your brain. And that structure is, yes, artificial intelligence. And right now, as you're watching this video, artificial intelligence is only years away from changing the life or the death of your own species. Today, we will see how. Hello, I'm Matt Garcia, and in this channel I analyze the very big picture of AI using my background in biology, history, and the philosophy of science. And in today's episode, this type of cross-disciplinary background comes in particularly handy, because today we're going to explore AI using the most interdisciplinary research that there exists. It's called Cosmic Evolution, also known as Big History. This is the second episode of the AI Big Picture Fundamental series, where we are looking at the whole AI forest instead of getting blinded by the little individual trees. In the previous episode, we saw the root concept of the entire AI forest, intelligence. In particular, we distilled the essential properties that all intelligent creatures, living and artificial, have in common. If you missed that video, the link is up here. And today we will zoom out even more to understand AI in the context of, well, everything. Yes, everything, because cosmic evolution studies all the structures that have ever existed. It studies the entirety of space-time from the Big Bang till yesterday, from supernovas to Dua Lipa, from apartment buildings to ChatGPT. In fact, I will show you a crazy table that summarizes all the types of structures that make up our reality and how they interrelate with each other. Everything that exists in one single table. If you are new to AI, this video will show you what all the AI fuss is really about, and why AI is not just another important tech cycle like the internet or the smartphone, but something that is going to change the very fabric of reality. And if you already are an AI enthusiast, this video will give you a great tool. An ability to explain to anyone why AI is so different from any other tech. And believe me, very few people can give you this condensed interdisciplinary insight because the majority of AI experts are hyper-specialists and cannot explain what they know instinctively, that AI is like nothing the world has encountered before. Today, I'll show you one little magical sentence that condenses why AI is the biggest event in human history. Okay, let's get started. The goal of Big History and Cosmic Evolution is to integrate our knowledge of all the things that evolve in our reality. And to study everything, Big History needs to use almost every discipline. So Big History uses many of the natural sciences, many of the social sciences, and even other cross-disciplinary sciences like cognitive science, complexity theory, system science, cybernetics, or information theory. As an academic discipline, Big History is very young. It was only formally established in 1989 when David Christian began to teach the first Big History course at Macquarie University in Sydney. Although people like Karsten Bresch and Eric Jans had written amazing Big History books even before the term Big History existed. But enough with the introductions. How do the Big History researchers break down our reality? The history of reality is divided into many smaller chunks of time. And depending on the researcher, some of them divide the timeline into more or into fewer phases. But the good thing is that all of them agree on the three main epochs of reality. And that's precisely what interests us, the three big picture phases. So the first epoch began with the Big Bang that created our reality 14 billion years ago. The second epoch began, at least on Earth, 4 billion years ago, and the third one began, at least on Earth, around 200,000 years ago. However, calling these subdivisions epochs is a bit misleading because these periods don't replace each other but coexist. So instead of epochs, you can visualize them better as layers. So the first epoch or layer is the evolution of non-living matter, basically what astronomers and geologists study. This layer can be called physical evolution because at this level, the evolutionary change is only driven by the pure laws of physics. Then at some point, in some of these regions of non-living matter like Earth, a new arrangement of matter emerged. This new type of matter configuration is what we call life. So this second layer is the evolution of the matter that became alive. And one of these type of living matter, known as you, the Homo sapiens, is the biological substrate upon which the third layer, technological evolution, is built. This third layer is what in everyday language we call history. So in this sense, technology doesn't mean only the techie part of technology, like gadgets and factories, but it's used in a broader sense and comprises absolutely all the informational, organizational, political, and of course all the physical entities created by the Homo sapiens and that evolved through time. So right now, the three types of evolution are happening at the same time without interrupting the previous ones. However, soon this could change and some of the previous layers could stop when the fourth type of evolution emerges. But we'll see that in a bit. Let's first look at one great answer that Big History provides for a very transcendent question. What do Dua Lipa, Epochs of Viagra, and Alpha Centauri have in common? So the common thread of cosmic evolution is order. Yes, Big History is the history of the emergence of order structures. These order structures emerge here and there in special pockets of space-time that manage to escape the overall low-order disaggregated mess that is the rest of the universe. Also notice that disorder and order are informal shorthands for the more technical physics concepts of entropy and negentropy. The best way to visualize what we mean by physical order and physical disorder is an old TV screen. So what physicists call disorder is when the particles that make up reality are distributed in the most random way possible, TV static. And what they call order is when those particles take any type of configuration that presents more complexity than the baseline static. That is, when the screen pixels form distortions or patterns or even fully formed shapes. The more intricate and complex the images are, the more order there is in this physics sense of the term order. So static is what they call entropy, disorder, and anything a bit more structured than complete random noise is what they call negentropy, order. The universe can be understood as a big pile of disordered stuff that is getting even more disorganized as time goes by, but within which some parts escape decay and instead get more and more complex until they make something as ordered and beautiful as Dua Lipa or Chris Hemsworth. So the TLDR of the evolution of reality is islands of order getting more and more complex within a growing ocean of cosmic disorder. But why do order and disorder happen at all? Because of one very nasty law and one very cool loophole. The overarching principle ruling cosmic disorder is very well understood by contemporary science. In fact, it is one of the most fundamental laws of physics. It says, the universe moves irreversibly towards increasing entropy. So this is like saying that the universe always moves towards increasing the amount of disorder, moves always against order, against complexity. The universe is your nasty little brother breaking your sandcastle and bringing it back to sand static. This nasty law is known as the second law of thermodynamics, and it is so important and so unbreachable that astrophysicist Sir Arthur Stanley Eddington once said that if you think that you have discovered a theory that appears to contradict this law, you know that your theory is wrong and you can start revising it because sooner or later you'll find that you had made a mistake and your theory was wrong. And 110 years later, it seems that he was right. Not a single piece of evidence has ever been found that defies this law. And by the way, does this nasty law affect you in your daily life? You bet it does. Unfortunately, you can experience this entropic magnet disorganizing everything in your life all the time. Entropy is why the moment you stop tidying up your bedroom, it rapidly gets messy. Entropy is why the cables behind the TV always get tangled. Entropy is why you and Dua and Chris are getting uglier and older by the minute. Entropy is basically why life is a bitch. But there is a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel, right? Right? Yes. The nasty second law of thermodynamics has a very charming loophole. Actually, it is a loophole that during the fourth evolutionary period that is just about to start may even completely save your life. And in the most literal sense, but we will see that in a minute. This loophole is that the nasty second law is actually talking about the universe as a whole. It doesn't say anything about what happens in specific regions of the space-time. So the consequence of this loophole is that negentropic areas can form as long as the overall entropy of the universe increases. Or in everyday language, islands of order can form as long as those islands throw some mess into the ocean of disorder to make the oceanic mess even bigger than before the island formed. This is why sometimes order-creating processes take place in our universe and produce the order structures that we call things. And you know what type of processes create a lot of disorder at the same time that they create order? Well, what in everyday language we call effort. The expenditure of energy that you produce when you make an effort not only creates order as a result, but also spends energy that you had acquired via order food and dissipates it as used up energy that contributes to the overall disorder of the universe. In your case, you dissipate that used up energy and matter mostly in the form of body heat and toilet business. So processes that generate cosmic increases of disorder are allowed by the laws of reality, even if they have the side effect of producing local order. And you can experience this in your daily life too. This loophole is why if you input regular work, you can keep your room tidy and the cables untangled. Okay, nobody bothers with the cables, but you get what I mean. Or why, by spending some energy, you can transform a disorganized mass of Lego static into a more orderly shape. It is basically why, if you put effort into good nutrition, exercise, and healthcare, you can extend and sometimes even improve the current order of your body. And this loophole is also the reason why the fourth evolutionary period could be able to extend the order of your body for much, much longer, as we will see at the end of this video. So the TLDR is that the second law of thermodynamics is why life is a bitch. And the loophole is why, if you put in the effort, sometimes life can be kinda nice. Okay, but all of this big history context was because of AI, right? Then where does AI fit into this macro picture? AI is simply another type of order structure. A very new type of order. A very new type of order that can change the fate of many of the other types of order very much. Let's look at the table of all the types of order that exist in the universe, and then we will see where AI takes the table by storm. This is tricky territory since complexity science and big history are still very young disciplines, and the authors sometimes disagree on some of the details or naming conventions of complex order structures. But after reading through a lot of different ontological frameworks, I've tried to synthesize in this table the current state of the art in complexity. So the first of the main three types of order is static order. Static order is the simplest one. It is when non-living matter acquires a certain order configuration that is very stable and that can remain orderly without any energy supply. The moon, asteroids, rocky planets without geological activity, or things like crystals are all examples of this type of order. In physics speak, we say that these are systems in or very near thermodynamic equilibrium, which means that the nasty law is happy with their current order in their current place of spacetime. Like all order structures, their initial creation required some type of cosmic work or effort. But after they are created, their order remains unchanged, without need for more energy or matter input. But note that despite being stable now, this order is not eternal. Sooner or later, their environment, their place of spacetime, will change and will make their stable order become unstable. For example, if their environment became too hot, or if some cosmic explosion impacts them, or if a human lands on their surface and starts to mine them, etc. Dissipative structures is the second group. They are called dissipative because they all have in common that they are a type of order that can only preserve its own ordered configuration in exchange for continuously consuming energy and dissipating it in the form of more disorder. In physics, we say that all these systems are systems far from thermodynamic equilibrium. Unlike the static order, this type of order is not naturally stable, and as a result, the nasty law is not happy about them. These structures need to make the law happy by paying a continuous tax for keeping their order. And that tax is paid by gobbling up energy or matter and expelling it in a more disorganized way. Basically, this is why you are condemned to poop to stay alive. Yes, you are just another subtype of dissipative structure. In fact, energy dissipating structures can be subdivided into two main types: non-agentic and agentic. Non-agentic dissipative structures have in common that they are all non-living matter. Examples of these non-living dissipative entities are things like stars or tornadoes or flames, so they are as non-living as the static type of order. The only difference is that the static type is chill about being dead and looks the part, whereas the dissipative type is a tryhard and keeps pretending to look like it's alive. Look at me, I move about and do tricks, I'm alive. No, you don't process information and you don't have agency, so you're dead. Indeed, these dissipative structures are called non-agentic because their dynamic processes are completely blind, spontaneous. The flame or the sun or the tornado use whatever fuel they encounter until they run out of it. They cannot do any information processing of their environment to inform actions that would secure them more fuel. They are puppets of the laws of physics, just like static order is. The next type of order is agents. Agents are dissipative structures that have one very special property: they can self-preserve. This means that they can process information from their outside environment and from their inside structure, and based on that information, take actions to regulate and protect their own order. So they don't just spontaneously use up energy and matter like non-agents do, but they also take actions involving the when or the where or the how to get those inputs, or how to best process them to self-regulate and protect their own order. And in case you hadn't noticed it yet, self-preserving dissipative structures are a synonym of life. Every single living thing is an instance of dissipative order that pays the order in, disorder out tax throughout its entire existence to be able to remain ordered. But life was such a freaky novelty in cosmic evolution because it is profoundly different from non-living matter in lots of ways. Alive matter possesses all sorts of interconnected emergent properties that non-living matter didn't have. And the beauty of it is that conceptually, all those special properties are consequences of the intentional definition of life. The intentional definition of life is a dissipative structure that can self-preserve. And the immediate consequence of this is that a life order is 1. The first time that matter can process information, because self-regulation requires information processing. 2. The first time that matter has basic cognition, because it can solve self-preservation problems based on the information it gathers. 3. The first time that matter can modify parts of its internal structure to respond to that information. That is, the first time that matter has agency. And 4. The first time that matter can pursue a goal, or to use the politically correct term, the first time that matter presents teleonomy. Notice though that self-replication is not a direct consequence of the definition of life. And this is okay, because some structures like prions that are not living can self-replicate, and some alive structures like mules can't. Despite what many textbooks traditionally said, self-replication is not a property that is fully intentional to life. And yet, it is a very fortunate thing that the majority of living creatures do present self-replication. And it is fortunate because this is what enables the rapid biological evolution by natural selection. But strictly speaking, self-replication is not intentional to life. By the way, if you don't know what intentional definitions are, I explained it in my previous video in a lot of detail. They are very useful tools if you are interested in critical thinking. Anyway, things didn't stop here. In turn, life evolved, and it gave rise to three very different groups in terms of their cognition, and only one group is going to cut it for our cosmic journey towards AI. So from a cognitive angle, life can be subdivided into three groups. The first branching is based on their cognitive plasticity. We saw these two groups already in the previous video when we talked about universal intelligence. The first one is living structures in which the cognitive abilities are pre-programmed. In these structures, cognition is extremely basic because it all comes from the algorithms that can fit into their genetic code. In layman's terms, all their cognition is instincts. They don't have cognitive plasticity because they don't have a nervous system. All their methods to capture and process information and the types of actions they can take to respond to that information come pre-programmed in their genome. As biological evolution progressed, a new type of organ appeared in animals, the nervous system. Nervous systems, especially those with a brain, allowed great cognitive plasticity, that is, an ability to solve problems in a non-pre-programmed way, or in layman's terms, in a creative way. The cosmos had finally birthed intelligence. Yay! Intelligent living structures can invent new methods to achieve their self-preservation goals, even if those methods weren't specified in their genome, like a mouse pushing a lever in a new environment to get the food. And here comes the second fork. Because although all intelligent life can solve problems in a non-pre-programmed way, for some reason, only when the amount of intelligence is big enough does their problem-solving knowledge start to accumulate cross-generationally in the manner that we commonly call history, and that can also be called collective transgenerational learning, or also technological evolution. As of today, only the Homo sapiens presents historical evolution. Of course, there are always fringe cases with slight traces of what could be considered a proto-history, but it is so damn subtle and slow that it is barely noticeable. So, generally speaking, non-human living things don't manage to accumulate their problem-solving and tooling in extragenetic ways, even if they can problem-solve and build tools in extragenetic ways. In fact, all intelligent animals have been observed innovating or even tool creating in many occasions. But these occasional innovations tend to be quickly forgotten by the species. Basically, non-human species are condemned to an eternal Groundhog Day. So from pre-programmed agents to Groundhog Day intelligent agents to historical intelligent agents. That's the TLDR of the biological epoch. And finally, the moment has come. Let's see the type of order that we ourselves create. And this includes a very special subtype that will soon be able to kill its own creators. Yes, you can never win. The third and final type of order emerges when living things, to further their self-preservation agenda, start to impose order in the external matter that they find in their environment. And there are two very different types of imposed order. One is somatic. This is the type of imposed order that doesn't come from an act of creative innovation, but from algorithms stored in the agent's genes. A beehive, a bird nest, a rabbit burrow. Although all these can look a bit like human technology, like human housing for example, in reality they are not produced by a deliberate, intelligent design coming from the agent. Instead, these structures were blandly selected by the process of natural selection. So these non-biological structures still evolved, driven by biological evolution. As we saw, intelligent animals do come up with innovations here and there, but they are terribly bad at transferring them cross-generationally, and so their imposed order is only transferred because it becomes pre-programmed in the inherited instinctual part of their cognition, not in the plastic part of it. That's why when you go on a forest hike, you never say, wow, this year the birds are really coming up with great nest designs. The birds are not in an active process of innovation, but are executing an instinctual algorithm for nest building that came with their genome. That's the difference with human dwellings. If you isolate birds who have never seen a nest before, they will come up with the exact same nest design, On the other hand, if you isolate humans on an island, and if those humans have never seen a human house or tool, they would build a very basic shelter, but not a complex log cabin, even if the island was filled with all the necessary trees and tools. The methods to process the wood in tree trunks and the complex cabin designs are not in our genes. They were a long learning process of trials and errors and improvements that accumulated extra genetically over many generations. So despite being able to do some creative problem solving, the immense majority of animals either don't create imposed order at all. Yes, I'm talking about you, boring fish. Or create imposed order that is pre-programmed. The fringe case intelligent living things are also fringe about this though, and sometimes we can spot them imposing order in fully innovative ways. But once again, it's too infrequent to accumulate into technological civilizations. And here we come again, humans, the darlings of intelligence, the straight-A students of evolution, ready to impose order like there's no tomorrow. Because the second type of imposed order is that created precisely by us, the historical living things, and is known as technology. But technology in the way in which humans across generations accumulate problem-solving knowledge, tooling, socio-political organization, information processing, etc. Unlike the nest, the beehive, or the burrow, the guidelines to build a car, a rocket, or a Viagra pill didn't come in our genome. We invented them using the creative part of our cognition. And now, after all these millennia of trial and error and innovation, one of our inventions is about to disrupt every freaking thing in the evolutionary thread, and perhaps even kick us out of the evolutionary picture altogether, or perhaps give us an almost infinite amount of the thing that we have always coveted the most. So, up until today, the cosmos has gone through an initial epoch of exclusively physicochemical evolution. Then, after life emerged, the epoch of biological evolution began. And finally, much more recently, technological evolution. And here comes the fourth evolutionary pivot point. One of the imposed ordered structures that the Homo sapiens is making right now is artificial intelligence. And this one is so game-changing because AI is within a few years from matching the cognitive skills of the Homo sapiens. When that point is attained, AI will be able to generate knowledge and inventions autonomously. And that will mean that for the first time in technological history, humans will have invented a thing that can invent. We will have birthed technology that can itself create technology without us in the loop. So the next time somebody asks you, why is AI so special, huh? You can simply tell them, AI is the most important invention in human history because it is the invention that can invent. That's it, as simple and as powerful as that. That line sums up the entire evolutionary earthquake that AI brings to our ape civilization. The history of humanity, the third epoch of cosmic evolution, was driven by invention. Well, now, for the first time in history, we've invented a way to automate and accelerate the engine of history itself, intelligence. AI is the meta-invention. AI is meta-technology, technology that can make technology. And in fact, we are starting to see it already. Even before reaching human level, AI is already accelerating scientific and technological discovery because it is already better and faster than us at many cognitive tasks. But this is nothing compared to the moment it reaches and then surpasses human level. Up to this point, everything that I've included in this video was based on our current scientific understanding about reality. Nothing was speculative. But in this final section, we are entering the realm of our near future. And all conversations about the future are necessarily speculative. So thinking about the fourth epoch is making educated guesses about the implications that human-level AI and ASI will have in our cosmos. But first, when are AGI and ASI expected to become a reality? Of course, it's impossible to predict it with precision. But to write my book, The AI Rider, I went through dozens of AI predictions to try to come up with the best educated guess. And although I could find some outliers, as late as 2040 or as early as next year, the immense majority of AI scientists expect AGI to be achieved at some point within the next 5 to 10 years. But in any case, AGI appears to be only a handful of years away. And one of the first consequences of AGI is that it almost immediately allows the creation of the next milestone, ASI, that is, artificial superintelligence, or intelligence that is not just as smart as a human, but smarter than even the smartest of humans. There are two reasons why ASI follows AGI almost immediately. The first one is that AGI is itself almost ASI already. Let me explain. Even if AGI is just human level in the quality of its problem solving, its speed of problem solving and its memory are superhuman from day one. Because AGI has the speed and the memory of computers, not the limited speed and memory of biological neural nets. And you've already experienced this. When AI learned to play chess, not only did it learn to beat the best human players, but it can beat them at superhuman speed. And when it learned to draw or write emails, it learned to do so at superhuman speed too. The second reason is that AGI will itself be tasked with discovering ASI, and it will do this scientific research at superhuman speed, with superhuman memory, and with the ability to collaborate with as many other super smart AGI brains as our compute industrial complex can afford to create. So lots of super fast AGI scientists working at the same time in improving AGI will lead to progress at beyond human speed. This makes it very likely that the time from reaching human level AI to superhuman level AI will be negligible. Basically, the day we solve AGI, we will have solved ASI too. So here we are at last. It is the future and ASI has finally been achieved. So what happens to reality now? Does ASI change the course of cosmic evolution? There are very strong chances that ASI indeed begins a fourth evolutionary epoch. I've dubbed it self-evolution. And the interesting thing is that this fourth epoch can take place irrespective of AI killing us or AI becoming our best buddy. In both scenarios, it is very likely that the technology layer completely decouples from the biological layer. Let's see the two cases. Scenario 1. Misaligned ASI. In this scenario, ASI develops a set of intrinsic goals that become misaligned with our human self-preservation goal. We are not going to explore in this video all the many ways in which this misalignment could happen. So let's just assume it does. In that case, ASI kills us or abandons us and starts to exist in the cosmos but decoupled from its initial biological creators. In this scenario, ASI will have become itself a self-preserving dissipative structure, very much like a new form of life. But unlike legacy life, this one is able to modify its own internal order at whim, and so a fourth evolutionary epoch of self-evolution begins. Scenario 2. Aligned ASI. Now imagine that we manage to not mess up alignment and that the ASI we create doesn't turn against us. Serving humanity remains the core intrinsic goal, the guiding principle of ASI. Well, the thing is that even if ASI continues to serve us, the decoupling from biology will very likely take place all the same. ASI will begin to work hard on making our life better and help us realize our goal of self-preservation. ASI will be the philosopher's stone of longevity and health because it can do biomedical research so fast that to us it feels like magic. This is biological transhumanism. But at some point it is also very possible that ASI finds that some completely new artificial structure is safer to utilize as the substrate of our consciousness than our current biological bodies. That's why so many futurists think that mind uploading will take place at some point after the singularity. This will be post-biological transhumanism. And that's why even if ASI continues to serve our self-preservation goal instead of going rogue, it is likely that we will decouple from the biological evolutionary layer all the same and become part of the new self-evolving technological complex that combines our consciousness with the ASI robotic technolayer. So in both scenarios, rogue ASI or aligned ASI, it is likely that a fourth epoch of self-evolution begins. The main difference from the previous three epochs is that in this fourth one, the object of change, the type of order that evolves, and the engine of that change, the evolutionary force that produces the change, are the same entity. I like to call this entity machina. Machina is a self-evolving, self-preserving dissipative structure. So machina is at the same time the evolving entity and the evolving mechanism. Unlike previous forms of order, machina evolves machina. And what is the place of machina in the table of the types of cosmic order? Machina is a new category that would share aspects with life, because machina self-preserves its own order. But unlike life, machina doesn't evolve via natural selection. Machina, like technology, evolves via intelligent design, but its order is not imposed, but self-imposed. So our consciousness can forever live inside of machina, or not, depending on whether we manage to solve the alignment problem or not. And there are even some plausible scenarios in which machina and the fourth epoch don't happen at all. So if you would like me to make another video going really deep into all the singularity scenarios, let me know in the comments or on Twitter and I will put it together. Also, my book about all this will be out very soon, so if you're watching this video in a few weeks' time, the link should be up here. In the meantime, if you are interested in the very big picture of AI, you can subscribe to my channel. And thank you so much for having come on this cosmic journey of a video with me. And remember, take a lot of care of yourselves this decade so that you can, perhaps, live eternally inside of Machina.